past summit. Please welcome Kate Duggan, Chief Marketing Officer of Redgate.
Hello everyone, on behalf of Redgate, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you all, whether you're here in the room or whether you're joining us online today, for the 2022 Past Data Community Summit. Come on, excited to be here. And welcome back everyone. This year's homecoming theme reflects the fact that it's been 3 years since the Past Data Community Summit, as a data community were able to come together for a summit like this in Seattle. Judging by the atmosphere at last night's welcome reception, it's clear it means a lot to so many of you to be able to reconnect with peers in person. But it's not just about reuniting with old friends, it's also a chance to make new ones this week as well. 40% of our attendees are here at their first ever summit, many of you here in this room today. I'd like to welcome all of you, along with those that are joining us online for the first time, to your first summit. Please make them all feel really welcome. And as the first ever hybrid Past Summit, we're so excited to be able to engage with a much wider audience than ever before. As hosts, we couldn't be prouder to be able to bring together such a diverse global community as this one. We want to thank you all for participating, for making the community so special, and we want to encourage you to connect as much as possible with your peers from around the world. We've got 56 countries represented, so please do make the most of the opportunity to meet one another. In terms of the content that you're going to be learning from this week, this year's summit program is the biggest it's ever been. We've got more than 400 sessions across 27 different tracks, and it's thanks to our 377 speakers from around the globe that we have such an incredible array of content for you this week. To thank them for their commitment to supporting the professional development of this community, please give them a huge round of applause. But of course, with so much content on offer, you are really going to have to do a bit of planning to make sure you make the most of this week. Please check out the catalogue online, build your own personalised agendas, enable notifications if you're even using the app so you don't miss anything. Remember as well, if you're planning to attend a Q&A with one of the speakers, you need to watch the on-demand session first so that you have all the context, and then you can make the most of that opportunity to ask them questions. But of course, we recognise this is a really jam-packed programme, and it's not going to be possible to fit everything into your day, especially if you're going to make the most of the networking and the learning from one another. But don't worry, benefit of a hybrid event is that all of the sessions are recorded for playback. So if you secure on-demand access, you're going to be able to view any of the sessions that you missed this week, Netflix style, at a time that suits you long after the event has finished. So I'd really encourage you to do that. And please, whenever you attend a session, whether it's online or in person, do complete the session evaluations. Your feedback's vital. It helps us continually improve and better plan future summit conferences, but it also helps the speakers that have invested their time in helping to progress the professional development of this community. It really helps them also to grow as presenters. Thank you all again for committing to the Code of Conduct. You signed up to that as part of your registration. We're committed to making sure this event is an inclusive, welcoming, and great, enjoyable experience for everyone. Familiarise yourselves again with the Code of Conduct, and if you have any questions or concerns, please do check out the website or the app for more information. All the details are on the back of your badge. You can also reach out to a Redgater at any point during the week. There is an amazing Redgate team behind this summit who have worked incredibly hard to make sure this event is enjoyable for all of you. Please do make sure that you reach out to them if you've got any questions at all or if they can help you in any way. You're not going to be able to miss them. We're all wearing these red t-shirts, so do reach out to them. And finally, I just want to take a couple of moments to thank and recognise the data platform ecosystem, to particularly thank our sponsors, Microsoft, AWS, Dell, all our other sponsors and partners. Summit wouldn't happen without them, so again, please show them your appreciation for their support. and interact with them. Interact with our sponsors and exhibitors during the week. It's your chance to find out how they can help you solve your data challenges. You can pick up some useful resources. If that's not enough, you can win some fantastic prizes in the scavenger hunt. On-site, your place to network is the Expo Hall and the Community Zone. Online, please go to the Connect tab and visit Community Zone. You can jump in online to the video networking powered by Spatial Chat. It's a really immersive networking experience. Now, without further delay, we're going to hear from Summit's premier sponsor, Microsoft. So, to deliver today's keynote and to finally reveal which outfit he decided to go with in the end, please join me in welcoming Corporate Vice President of Microsoft Azure Data, Rohan Kumar.
Thanks, folks. Rohan is on his way. He is running a few minutes behind, but let's check out some behind-the-scenes footage he shared with us.
Rohan, aren't you late for your past keynote?
Oh, is it time already? Oh my gosh, I'm running so late. Thank you so much for reminding me.
Rohan, do you know what you're wearing?
You know, I don't know yet, but guess what? SQL Server 2022 is the most Azure connected release ever. And you know what I could do? I could upload my private data using Synapse Link to Synapse and use AI and ML and predictive queries with Synapse to make that decision. My private data is protected using Microsoft Purview because Microsoft Purview governs all data in SQL Server 2022. Now let me issue these queries.
Don't be silly, Rohan. Just wear this. You always do.
Thank you. Good call. Now pants.
Okay, so he'll be here any second, but we are so excited to see all of you in person and online. And we do have some enthusiasm from y'all to show. Let's take a look.
Wait, don't you need your headset and lights when you talk at Past Summit?
No, Anna, I'm going to be in a room in Seattle with other people. Imagine that.
What time is it?
Time to start packing for Past Summit. Sparkly stickers, sparkly beard stickers,
Do I need anything else?
both types of pants,
Both types.
American and English.
You need to bring some comfy shoes. Me, probably gonna wear some Jordans. I'll probably have a different pair on every day. Check me out.
Hey, dear, I'm all ready for Summit.
What do you mean you're all ready for Summit?
What, I got everything.
No, we're going in person to Seattle. They've got plenty of coffee there.
Dog.
Sebastian signed up to attend virtually, so he's all set.
All right.
I was actually planning to be there in person, but Kitty didn't submit her expenses on time and didn't get approval. So here we are, super pumped to be here for the virtual Past Summit. Right, Potato?
So excited to be heading out to Past Data Community 2022.
Everything is great about being back in person. Being in a room with people who want to learn from me and teaching, I missed it so much.
I'm so looking forward to seeing the community, and the community to me is that support network. It means I'm never on my own. You know, whether I'm in Australia, in New Zealand, in the US, it doesn't matter. That community is there to help. Virtually, you reach out to that network, we're here to help you. And helping others is what makes this community great.
Ooh, deodorant! Don't forget the deodorant! You are welcome, Seattle.
I'm so excited to connect with everyone, to learn and to share my knowledge. Looking forward to see you.
This community is absolutely amazing. I get to see some people I haven't seen in such a long time. Shake some hands, have a few hugs, maybe even shed a few tears, because it's been a long time since I've seen these people. We'll go to breakfast, we'll go to lunch, we'll go to dinner, may even have a few drinks. It's gonna be exciting. But what I'm most excited about is meeting all the new people in this community, because I know it's grown. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see all of you there. See you soon.
All right. Wow. It's been 3 years, man. It's so fantastic to see all of you. It's so fantastic to finally do an in-person presentation. You know, like, for the last 3 years, standing in front of video cameras and getting yourself recorded and playing, I mean, the energy is absolutely not the same. Would you agree? Yeah. So, welcome to the PASS Summit. It's so great to be here, and I'm so excited. I'm so excited for this keynote. We've tried to make it fun for all of you, and you'll see as it sort of goes along, and it'll be great if everyone participates. You know, the last time, as I said, we were here, it was 3 years ago. And I know there's several of our community members who are watching this event online, so welcome to all of you as well. But yeah, man, it's so great to be back. You know, I also want to acknowledge all the great work. You know, while we couldn't meet in person, the communities came together, the Azure data communities, and all of you participated, whether it being in person or virtual, to share knowledge about SQL Server, about the broader Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. That has kept us going. And today we have over 155,000 members across 145 user groups in about 41 countries. Now, that's fantastic to see. That's really, really great to see. And since the last time we were together, I mean, several organizations across multiple industries have approached the hybrid model. Many in tech have done the same, right? And we're sort of seeing this model work out pretty well. And that's what all of us, I mean, it's exactly how the PASS Summit's going to be. And it's sort of great to see. We have a good room, almost a packed room over here, but probably equally or more number of people watching this event online as well. So welcome. As we bring back these elements of coming back in person, it's a reminder of how powerful our collective energy can be when we sort of come together. And that's why I'm so excited that PASS is calling it the homecoming, because it sort of feels like coming home and coming together. And I'm actually so thankful to the PASS community for giving us this opportunity to sort of come together, share our ideas once again in person. And it's just the energy that I feel, having spoken to a few of the community members yesterday, this morning, it sort of feels very, very different. And I'm so proud that we're able to do this all over again. All right. So while all of you are very familiar with the star player of the Intelligent Data Platform, the MVP really is the entire platform, right? As this whole event is about all of us coming together once again, so we've done the same with our databases, analytics, business intelligence, and our governance platforms, bringing all of them together into a unified whole with the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. And that's the MVP of the summit. All right. Now, sort of getting into the meat of the keynote. Over the last, I'd say, 10 years or so, we've spent a lot of time with our customers trying to understand the challenges that, they face today. Given the breadth of our portfolio, by the way, I mean, just the range of customers that we actually serve is pretty wide. Let's take developers as an example, right? The expectation that every application has to become intelligent is a pretty tough one. Like today, the silos that exist between databases and analytic systems makes it extremely challenging for developers to build out intelligent applications. Now, you look at data engineers, data scientists, business analysts, who all have to work together and collaborate and build out these extensive, rich, and powerful end-to-end data pipelines. They suffer. They basically struggle a lot, stitching together multiple services to get the end-to-end pipelines right, have the quality of the data right, and making sure that the right data is available at the right time so decisions can be made. Again, the silos that exist between these multiple services that need to be stitched together cause that problem. And finally, when you look at the data officers, that's sort of become a very, very critical role in any enterprise. While every enterprise wants to sort of become data-driven, they want to use data that they have, generate insights from that to drive their business, maybe create newer products, figure out a better way of engaging with their customers, create newer business models. The big challenge that they run into is they have to make sure that they use the data right. And what I mean by that is every region of the world, every country of the world is coming up with their own rules and regulations to protect the privacy of their citizens. And it's extremely important that enterprises use this data in compliance with that regulation. And that's a huge challenge because a lot of the governance tools and governance products are not deeply integrated where the data is produced and changed. And so at Build earlier this year, Satya announced what we've been working on for about 3.5, 4 years now, this platform that we call the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform that brings together the best-in-class databases that we have, analytics products, business intelligence platforms, and data governance products into a unified, cohesive platform. And it also deeply integrates with the Microsoft Cloud, as I'll talk about in a second. Let's take a look at a few examples of the integrations that we've already built and made available. As I said, developers have been tasked with this amazing goal of making sure that every application, whether it's a new application that they're building or extending an existing one which is strategic for an enterprise, they have to make it intelligent. And the challenge is the silos that exist between databases, which essentially power these applications, and the analytics platform. We very strongly believe that analytics is not a back-end process anymore. It has to become a core part of the product experience. And for that to happen, the silos that exist today between databases and analytics systems has to go away. And that's what we've done with Synapse Link. Across Cosmos DB, Dataverse, Azure SQL, we essentially have made it very easy for our developers to essentially check a box and make sure that every committed transaction in near real time is available in a columnar format for you to analyze within Synapse. Right? That's sort of really game-changing. And how does that help? When the silos get broken down, you can imagine an application, let's say an e-commerce site, where somebody searched for a particular product suite and they got a certain set of results, based on a machine learning model that's been customized for that user on that website. Now, let's say they go reject and don't pick any of the results that were shown to them. That's a very, very clear signal that the model needs to be retrained. Now, today what happens is that signal is captured inside the database, but it takes forever for it to reach the analytics system. So it takes maybe several hours, in fact, even days. And the company's lost a chance to actually change the model. And that's what we are fixing when we talk about ML and AI, where every transaction that gets committed, every signal that gets captured is made available in real time. So you can, in this particular example that I just said, you can learn from why that customer rejected all the offers that were presented, retrain the model, and deploy it back to the application so that you don't lose the next customer. That's really where the world is moving towards when we talk about analytics being a core part of the product experience. And finally, when you look at data governance, as I said, it is sort of becoming extremely critical that enterprises use data in a compliant manner. What that means is the governance of data is much more than just creating a catalog and being able to search your entire enterprise data estate. Couple that with the fact that most of the data estates are now becoming hybrid and maybe support multi-cloud as well. And the volume of data is going up in a pretty notable manner. All these trends are essentially pointing to the importance of governance being deeply embedded. I'll give you another example. GDPR, it's privacy regulation out in Europe, states that if you collect data on behalf of your customers and they don't give you use rights, then you can't use that data as you train your machine learning models for advertising purposes, as an example. Now, that restriction starts the moment you collect the data. Now, if your governance essentially happens in an asynchronous manner, maybe you scan your entire estate once a day or twice a day, then for several hours, your entire understanding of whether that user data can be used is broken, right? And that's really what we are fixing in the Intelligent Data Platform, where we're embedding governance deeply where your data is getting produced, changed, deleted, right? So in near real time, we have a very good understanding in the data map that we collect of how your entire data estate sort of lives. It's super comprehensive. Now let's take a look at, I mentioned that our Intelligent Data Platform is deeply integrated with the Microsoft Cloud. What do we mean? Now let's take a look at Microsoft 365 as an example. Power BI is the default business intelligence platform that you use to share data. It's a core part of the Intelligent Data Platform. And it's deeply integrated with services like Synapse. So any data that lands inside the Intelligent Data Platform now can be made into a turnkey experience for creating shared data sets for your business users who are using Teams, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, et cetera. Let's take a look at Dynamics 365. The Customer Insight product suite is entirely built on top of the Intelligent Data Platform. And we have built a very turnkey experience for all of your Dynamics apps, which store their data inside Dataverse, which is a logical database that's built on top of the Intelligent Data Platform, to land that data to be analyzed with Synapse. This is another example where you can now join that data from customer insights with other data sets like SAP, Oracle, Salesforce, et cetera, and generate a ton of insights in a very, very easy manner. And then you have integrations with the Power Platform, which sort of makes it very easy for citizen developers to build out turnkey experiences or turnkey applications on top of data that's stored in Azure SQL, Cosmos DB, and we are bringing that to several other services as well. Again, just a few examples of how the Intelligent Data Platform is deeply integrated with the broader Microsoft Cloud. And since the time we announced the Intelligent Data Platform, a key piece of feedback we got from our customers is like, look, we love a lot of the services and all the capabilities and all the deep integrations that we have, but we also rely on several of our partners. And so we basically have taken a very open and governed approach as we built out the Intelligent Data Platform. Of course, we have tons of integrations that we are doing with our first-party services, but we are also working with a lot of our partners. I mean, this is just an initial set that we announced a few weeks earlier, but we are working with them so they can build out the same integrations based on the open APIs that we expose as a part of our Intelligent Data Platform. So our customers who rely on these partners can actually get the same deeply integrated experience that they get from the first-party Microsoft services. We've sort of taken the stand of having a very open approach, both in terms of the APIs that we support, the data formats, et cetera. So innovation really can be unleashed, and all of us can collectively go do the right thing for our customers. So super excited about the partner program. All right, with that as the background, let's sort of dig into the first component or the first area of the pillar of the Intelligent Data Platform, which is our operational databases. And guess what? One of our flagship products, of course, is SQL. It's pretty amazing to just see, over the last 30 years, what we've known as SQL Server, the box product that ran on server machines, now runs on ARM devices, right? Like 300 megabytes, all the way to like petabytes of data with distributed Synapse SQL, right? The entire range. And of course, Azure SQL with various deployment options that we have. And the beauty of this is if you look at both from a management and from a development standpoint, you build your application once, and then you can deploy it anywhere, right? The consistency of programming, the consistency of the core SQL engine that remains exactly the same independent of where you deploy makes this possible. And we're seeing significant amount of traction here, right? There's very few databases, if you essentially take a look at, which started off maybe 30 years ago, and essentially you can look at and tell like, wow, they have such a great future ahead given the transition that we've made with the cloud. And frankly, I think SQL stands out as the leader in the pack for sure. Now let's take a look at the SQL Server investments over the last years. I mean, how many of you were here when we released SQL 6.0? Wow, that's quite a group. How many of you know code names Silo, Denali? All right, wow, that shows the strength and power of the community. It's just been phenomenal. I just take a look at all the innovation that's happened across multiple SQL Server releases, over the last 30 years. It's actually been fantastic to see. With every release, we've made like a significant advancement, and SQL Server 2022 is no different. And man, it's sort of getting super warm here with this jacket that I'm wearing. I really need to remove it with all the amazing. All right, for the very first time, the past community is hearing it, that we've made SQL Server 2022 generally available today. Again, I just want to sort of take a moment and really, really thank the community, right? While, of course, the product team, our marketing peers, we all sort of work super hard to bring all this together. But we could not have done this without you. All the feedback, all the support that we've sort of gotten over the years. And so thank you. I mean, this is our release, and it's fantastic to see it becoming generally available. And I've been told all of you are going to get this T-shirt once the keynote finishes, so you don't have to rush and leave right now, outside at the booth. So again, it's really, really great to see. All right, let's dig a little bit into the release itself, right? I mean, one of the big things, and I'll sort of cover this in a bit, is we've really stepped back and, as we were planning out SQL Server 2022, which is codenamed Dallas, one of the things we're looking at is really talking to our customers who wanted us to support all the value that we have with Azure SQL in the cloud without having to migrate their data for multiple reasons, right? There's regulatory reasons. There's a whole planned approach in which they're thinking about their cloud migration. But that sort of became the central pivot of how we thought about the release. But even outside of that, if I take a look at all the capabilities that we've had, just in terms of raw performance, price performance, again, there's multiple benchmarks that we've released to show how SQL Server is #1 across 3 terabytes, 10 terabytes, 30 terabytes, et cetera. I mean, and all that innovation with intelligent QP, all the work that we've done, that continues to remain. We continue to invest pretty heavily in security. I mean, that's sort of becoming really a key challenge of our times. In particular, I'm very excited about the work we've done with SQL Ledger, where this whole notion of what blockchain supports with tamper-proof logs essentially is natively built into the core database engine. So you don't have to basically go outside and build all that complexity in your application. If you ever had to sort of build out blockchain-like scenarios, now with SQL Server 2022 and Azure SQL, you basically have that core capability built in, which is something that we're super excited about. And again, when you look at all the vulnerabilities that have been found across databases, and this has sort of been consistent for multiple releases of SQL Server right now, where we are the lowest in terms of the security issues that get found. And a big reason for that is the core engineering practices around secure development lifecycle that the team maintains. I mean, we take things like these super, super seriously. So really excited. Now let's dig a little bit into the when I talk about the cloud-connected or the Azure-connected features. The first thing is SQL Server 2022 is very deeply integrated through the link capability with Azure SQL Managed Instance. And what that means is you can sort of replicate your data to managed instance, and you can use that for high availability, for running your operational reporting, reports, et cetera. It's, again, a huge connectivity piece. We've basically got, through Arc-enabled SQL Server, a lot of the value in Azure now can be brought to your SQL Server instances that run outside of Azure, whether it's in your on-premise, private data centers, other clouds, et cetera. We now support, with SQL Server 2022, Synapse Link. That's generally available with this release. So there's a very turnkey experience where you can actually move your data, store inside, inside Synapse pools, and then do all kinds of analytics. Again, a very, very turnkey experience where all the hard work of building out that pipeline, et cetera, is sort of already done for you. All the data management in SQL Server 2022 can be done through Microsoft Purview. So it's not just about search and discovery, but tracking lineage, classifying your data, and tracking changes, which you can imagine whether you're eventually exposing these as reports through Power BI, that lineage tracking becomes extremely important. And again, that's a natively integrated value that you get through Azure. If you want to sort of build secure applications through two-factor authentication that Azure Active Directory supports, then that native integration already exists with SQL Server 2022 and Active Directory as well. And finally, Microsoft Defender for SQL Server 2022, which essentially is able to, these are again services that run in Azure, that run in the cloud, that are able to connect to your SQL Server instance, look at your configuration, your data, to actually recommend best practices in terms of how best you can secure your database and protect it against external threats and attacks. So huge, huge range of capabilities. There's a lot more in the release. But when I sort of take a look at the value that we're adding, and again, there's great feedback from the community around, look, while the cloud transition is eventually going to happen, different customers are moving at a different pace. Some of the countries where there are regulations where the data has to be kept, in certain industries where it has to be kept within their own private data center, they just can't move to the cloud right now, and we totally recognize that. And I think SQL Server 2022 is a great example of how collectively with the community we've built something which recognizes that fact, which effectively lets our customers know that we understand that we want to give you the value of the cloud without you having to make the choice of moving your entire data estate right away. All right. The other thing that I'm excited to announce is, one of the pieces of feedback we heard from our customers is, hey, we love, for some of our workloads, the pay-as-you-go model that you have where you just pay for your usage works out really, really well. It's very easy to get going, and you don't have to run into a lot of challenges around talking to the people who procure licenses in your organization and such. And we are essentially getting that same value through SQL Server pay-as-you-go licensing model to your on-prem SQL Server as well. So think about pay-as-you-go usage, the flexibility options that you get. This is something that I'm really excited about, because for some workloads, this lands up being a game changer, right? I mean, you have the details that you see on the slide, but it's really, the goal of introducing this is, you of course have the traditional ways in which you can acquire the license for SQL Server, but in certain burstable workloads, right, which, you would have had to move that to the cloud. Now you don't have to, because you can get the same business model that you sort of have for Azure SQL to your on-prem SQL servers as well, which is huge. All right. So I spoke a lot about the value that we are adding, with SQL Server 2022. And let's see some of these, hybrid connected capabilities. And Bob and Anna are two of our biggest Azure SQL and SQL Server 22 experts. And let me invite them on stage for a little bit of a friendly competition. Bob and Anna.
Rohan, good to see you. Yeah, thank you. Anna, we've been working on Azure SQL for Beginners the last few years, right? I think you remember all that work we've done. But did you know SQL Server 2022 can connect in Azure in new and interesting ways? In fact, I'll show you how to do this, right?
You know what, Bob? Actually, I've been connecting SQL Server to Azure. Why don't you let me show you? Yeah, cool. Let's take a look. All right, so it all starts with SQL Server 2022 setup. Now, what we're going to do here is we're actually going to be able to use the Azure extension for SQL Server. So I can just put in my login information. So I'm using an Azure login here to connect my SQL Server instance to the cloud. And once I type in my password, hopefully that goes okay, yep, I can go ahead and see my subscription information in Azure and select a resource group and a region and just a few clicks, and then I'll be able to actually access this in the Azure portal. So we can hop over, look at all my Azure Arc enabled SQL servers. That top one up there, you see, it's a Go Titans SQL server running on a local VM. So pretty cool, huh?
Well, Anna, I know everything there is about SQL Server. I wrote a book, so I already know all of this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, let me show you some stuff here, actually. So I've done what you've done already, but I've actually connected myself to Azure Active Directory. And you can see here, you wanted to get access to my SQL Server, so I did that. I added your Azure Active Directory account in here. But Anna, I know you're a performance expert. We've worked so much together on SQL. So what I've done is I've created a login and given you access to my SQL Server to do performance work. You want to try it?
Yeah, let me take a look.
Please go ahead.
All right. Okay, so let me get in. All right, so I'm in Azure Data Studio. I'm going to go ahead and add a new connection. Connect to your instance, MFA, no problem. Yep. Okay, we're in. Let's take a look at some queries. I have been working on my performance skills, so I'm going to do a select star from, I'm going to use this DM exec request. Yeah, you use that one, right?
Yeah.
You know that one?
I do know that one, yeah. I know. I've been doing that one for a while. Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay, let's see what else is in there. How about them Cowboys? What? Wait.
Anna, you are not worthy of the Cowboys. I'm sorry. I'm not giving you access to the Cowboys. So, sorry.
Okay, fine. It's fine. This is pretty cool. But did you know that with Microsoft Purview policies, I can actually do all of this without specifically granting you access?
And give me access, though.
Yeah. Let's take a look. Okay, so here I am. I'm in Purview policies. I can very easily create a new policy. So I'm going to grant you read access, just read access, on one of my SQL servers that Go Titans. Maybe you want to take a look, see how things are going. Pretty easy for me to just go ahead and add you in here. And once I create this policy, the last thing I have to do is just go ahead and publish that. So let me get it all published. You want to take a look in at this SQL server and see what Titans are all about?
Because I have access now?
Yeah, you should have access.
didn't create a login, though.
Oh, take a look.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, so I'll flip over to my server here. This is the server, right? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. I've got my AED account here. Let me log in. Go Titans. I can't believe this. Let me go in here. So, okay, I'm going to go into the database here.
You might want to look at those catchphrases.
DB. Okay, I'm going to go read some data here, right? Titans catchphrases?
You'll like
What
the
is
last
this?
one.
Let me run a query. What's going on? How about them Titans? Oh, heck no, man. I'm changing that to how about Cowboys? Let's go here. I'm running an update statement right now, and we're going to change that to the right team. And, denied.
You know, maybe I'm not worthy of the Cowboys, but you're definitely not worthy of the Titans.
Oh, my goodness. All right, that's all very, very impressive, Anna. But you know what, though? I've got Defender protecting the SQL server I granted you access to. I'm going to show you that.
All right.
So I'm going to come over here. And what I've done is I've set SQL Server up to register with Azure Arc through setup like you did, but I'm using Defender. So let me go over and show you. And I'm looking down here, and Anna, I happen to notice a SQL injection attack on my machine. I wonder who did that.
You can't
so
tell
let me
who
click
did
over.
it.
Yeah, I've got full details of it, and I can tell. Anna, I taught you too well. You did a SQL injection attack on my SQL server. Well, Defender caught it, though. So
I didn't know you
good
could do
try to try to go attack the Cowboy server. That ain't going to work. Okay, so I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's pretty good. You caught me on that one. I'll have to get a little more clever.
Yeah.
But you know, something else I've been meaning to talk to you about. You own a lot of our SQL Server licenses. You know, Bob's kind of stingy with those licenses. I really want to play around with SQL Server, but there's this new capability. Let me show you. I don't need your licenses anymore. So in SQL Server 2022, check this out, All right, pay-as-you-go billing. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Once I turn that on and I switch into the Azure portal, you'll see it's also a pay-as-you-go license. So we'll just switch over there, show you we're using pay-as-you-go. So I don't need your license anymore. I can just use SQL Server, build on a per-hour basis. So
well, that Azure Arc stuff's pretty cool. That's really impressive. Let's get into some real technology that I'm going to show you. Excuse me a second, Anna. Anna, do you know I know the managed instance team? They're here this week. And so let me show you what I've done. I have gone in, and what I've done is I've taken my SQL Server 2022 database, and I've linked it to managed instance and synchronized Cowboys are the best. Makes sense. That's the database I'm using. So I've synchronized this together, got an AG set up. That's all part of the thing. And here is the thing, Anna. Because I've done this, I can go in here and take a database I've backed up in managed instance. Look over here, run in the portal. Here we go. Restore. Okay, I'm going to restore a managed instance back up to SQL Server 2022, but I got to rename it now. Cowboys are the best. Better than the Titans.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, we're going to do that. And I'm going to restore it because I've already got my Cowboys are the best. And there we go. Look at that. In minutes, I've been able to restore my database for managed instances back to SQL Server 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool. Yeah. Top that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
You know, I got to have the last word.
What?
I think I can top it.
No.
All right, let me show you. So,
Wait.
you know, I also know Dr. Danny.
Wait, you talked to Dr. Danny? Is he here?
Yeah, he's here. He's right there.
Oh, my goodness.
I know the managed instance team.
So what are you going to show?
So they let me in on a new preview.
What?
This is pretty exciting.
And I haven't seen this.
Your restore is pretty cool, but they have a new online failover and failback experience.
Back
Yeah,
forth?
it's pretty cool. So let me show you. Let me first point out, on the left-hand side, you see my SQL server, and on the right-hand side, it's my managed instance. It's synchronized like yours. All right, first I want to show you the names of these. So Titans rule, and Titans are better than the Cowboy. Checks that. All right, so my SQL server is in primary, my managed instance is in secondary, and I can very easily initiate a failover. This is an online failover between SQL Server and managed instance. I'm just going to acknowledge we're going primary to secondary, and just a few seconds later, I'm now able to see my SQL Server is in the secondary role, my managed instance is in the primary role. Pretty cool.
Yeah, but you can't go back.
Oh, I can go back.
What?
Watch this. Just the same way that I could online fail over, I can online fail back. So I'm going to, same process, just acknowledge, yeah, we want SQL Server to go back to being the primary, and say it's a planned failover, and here we go, just a couple seconds. We can go back, and we'll go back into SQL Server, and we'll see that SQL Server is now read-write, so it's the primary again. Managed instance is back to being the secondary.
Well, but I did the Defender thing.
Did you know you could do that?
I did the backup, and that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. Yeah, that's Rohan, what do you think, man? We connected SQL Server to Azure to do, look, pay-as-you-go licensing, Purview, Active Directory, and managed instance. What do you think about all that stuff?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just so fantastic to see all this innovation come.
But I probably won.
Oh, but I think Anna won this round,
What?
man.
No,
What do you guys think?
No.
I think Anna won this round, Bob.
Thanks, Rohan. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Wow, that is awesome. Just look at the value that's sort of impact. And thanks again, Bob and Anna. Definitely round one goes to Anna. All right, now let's, it's great, that we sort of talk about all this innovation and demos, but nothing makes it real like actually having a customer sort of get value out of the, work that you've done. And so let's take a look at one of our customers, Mediterranean Shipping Company. They've been trusting SQL Server for multiple years, actually multiple decades. And it's sort of really fantastic to see how they've embraced a lot of the value around this cloud-connected pieces and imagining, how the value sort of transcends for them. So with that, let's play the video, please.
MSC is the largest container ship operator in the world. For a single shipment, you can have up to 38 different parties. Each one of them will require information. Without solid IT services, nothing of this kind would be possible.
With SQL Server 2022, we are trying to cover the three main pillars of availability, performance, and security. Being able to have degree of parallelism feedback and cardinality estimation feedback in our user databases is going to be huge. Additionally, parameter-sensitive plan optimization is something that we are foreseeing as a huge benefit in our existing workload. With Synapse Link for SQL, we will be able to replace our existing ETL processes and being able to have almost real-time synchronization of our critical operational tables in Synapse in a matter of seconds, adding a managed instance into the existing availability solution that we have will give us an additional benefit in terms of being able to easily fail over to a managed instance in case of a major disaster. Having the integration with Azure Active Directory within SQL Server 2022 will help us to enhance our security authentication with the clients and the users that we have at MSC.
And with the SQL Server 2022, we continue down the same path to keep growing the success of our business.
Now this is the beauty of being in person. I'm really excited to announce that, Javier Vegas from the Mediterranean Shipping Company is attending the PASS Summit, and he's here with us in person. Javier. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Javier, in terms of how SQL Server 2022 and all the cloud-connected pieces are helping you to imagine how to add value for your customers. Thank you. All right. One thing I do know is you cannot have a PASS Summit keynote without the Bob and Connor show, right? Are you guys excited? Yeah, so let's bring them on stage and see if Bob can actually finally win one round. Bob and Connor. Whoa. What's going on, guys?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Hey, Rohan, what's going on, man?
So every year we come out and try to get you to wear a Dallas sports jersey, and we figured this year, since you codenamed the release Dallas, the first thing you have to know in Texas 101 is you have to wear a cowboy hat. So we figured we at least get you to wear a cowboy hat and get everyone to take your picture.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
And of course, it's black.
Yeah, of course.
Great. I hope we get to see some technology too.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I guess we'll do that.
Right? Okay, perfect. All right, guys. See ya.
Thank you.
So Connor, Do you know those Power BI guys, guy in the cube,
Yeah, I've heard of them.
They're always asking us performance questions. They're always asking us, how do we solve some performance questions? So they ping me. They said, hey, we've got this performance problem with this workload. We're running Power BI reports. Can you help us solve this? Does SQL 2022 maybe help solve this? So let me show you kind of what I did to kind of help those guys. So what I did, Connor, is I went on their system and looked at perfmon. Let me go over here and look at this. Now what I'm doing is I'm looking at batch requests per second, kind of like throughput numbers. You can see that. I'm looking at processor time. That makes sense to kind of see what kind of processor time is going on. They're always running these reports in the server. And then I wanted to put in parallelism kind of as a perfmon counter because I suspect that might be going on. So if you look over here, Connor, notice in the workload here, you see these blips. This lines up with what they told me. They said, hey, we're running these reports. Every once in a while, there's kind of a blip in performance of the workload. So the workload degrades as processor time goes up. It happened here, and then it kind of happened again. And I was like, I wonder if it's when they're running those reports that's causing the problem. So use the query store. You know the query store. Went and looked and said, oh, there's a parallel query running. What a surprise from Patrick and Adam running parallel queries, right? So I said, what DOP are you guys using? And they're like, DOP? Like, I said, it's 16. What'd you set it to? They said, well, we just set it to 0. Isn't that the right number? I'm like, that's a really good question, actually. So I wonder if SQL Server 2022 can figure out what is the right DOP to use for their query, like on the fly. So here's what I did. I went in and I went into Management Studio and I set the compat level for their database to the new compat level, 160. And I turned on this new option called DOP feedback. And I said, let's go run the workload. Now, X events, I love this technology. It's my friend. So I'm monitoring X events. There you go. I'm monitoring X events over time to see. Now, look at this. SQL Server automatically looked at their query and said, I think we can lower the DOP of the query dynamically over time, all the way from 16 down to 4. But, and it gets down to this 4 value. But the problem is that have I affected the query? You can look over here to the right, notice that the actual duration of the query has gotten lower over time, like it's faster. And then also, here's the really cool part, you can see the overall CPU time has gone down as well. So this is pretty interesting, right? But I love reports in Query Store. Look at this. Here's the average duration over time in the staircase fashion as we're lowering the DOP, right? You can see it lowered there. And then if I look at average CPU, it gets even better. That's really cool, right? So as the DOP is getting lowered dynamically, the overall CPU usage is lowered. So the query is running the same, just lower CPU. You can even go inside Query Store and look at our feedback we're storing in the system, so it's persisted. In fact, even memory grant feedback kicked in as well to make the queries faster. So I'm pretty excited to see how this lands, and I'm just wondering whether overall is the performance any better. So look at this. They ran their workload again, and there's no blips. The workload runs perfectly smooth. There's less CPU time required and lower parallelism. Connor, this is an example of built-in query intelligence. What do you think?
It's really exciting because when we first shipped SQL Server 2016 and the Query Store was there, we knew it had a lot of potential. And we've now been able to go through a few releases of building these feedback self-learning loops so that you can just turn on SQL Server and it'll make your workload better without you having to do anything. So that's really exciting. Also, the DOP feedback here is also pretty neat because some of the hardest problems for people to debug are which query is slow and why. In the traditional row mode parallelism, it doesn't really scale beyond 8 or 16 cores. The batch mode stuff scales a lot better than that. But if you have systems that are running in row mode, you need a way to make that run efficiently. So this is a great opportunity for you just to kind of turn it on and then have it do its thing.
And the Power BI guys don't have to call us anymore, thank goodness.
Well, Bob.
Wait, what?
Remember, we had that other problem
Well,
with
I can't solve their blocking problems. I don't know how to do that.
Well,
I have anything in 2022 to fix that.
Maybe you should go look at your desktop.
What are you talking about?
Well, I put a little thing on there. By
Hunter,
the way, your security
why is there a picture of you on my desktop?
Yeah, you need to work on your security stuff.
Why does it say Connor's special build? What is this?
So I put a build on here. This is a preview of some stuff that we've been working on to show that we're kind of investing
Wait, to solve the blocking problem?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I showed you a 10 million row insert, right? Well, duh, it takes like 10 million locks. Remember this thing right here?
Yeah, we were talking about
it. Almost tipped the system over, man. That's crazy. What are you saying? You can fix this?
Yes, sir.
Wait, so where do I go?
Well, just go run my build and do the same.
You mean like go over to one of these tabs right here? Okay, so let me go over here. I can run the same insert on your special build.
Yeah.
Here we go, 10 million rows insert. Okay, yeah, okay. And then what does the locks look like? There's only one. What the heck is that? What's an exact lock? Did you solve the other blocking problem? I have these two updates, and I'm trying to update the same, like two halves of the table. Let me go over here. Remember this one?
Yeah.
So I'm updating one half of the table here. right? That runs, that's great. I run the other half of the table, it's blocked. And if you go look, what's happening from a locking perspective, it's lock escalation every single time. Right? Here we go. We got an object lock, right? So yeah, you didn't fix that too?
No, we did.
Wait a minute, that's not possible. Let me go over here. So I'm gonna go run the other update statement. Let me go, okay, let me find it. And this is on your special build. There's the one it ran. Let me go look at the other. It finished. It didn't block. Well, what do the locks look like? Let me go back up here. Wait, is it that X-act lock thing again? Let me go, wait. Connor, what the heck's an X-act locked? Can I get this?
You can't get it yet, but you will be able to get it in the future.
You're teasing me. You're going to solve lock escalation for the world?
Well, we're going to make a good stab at it for sure.
Oh my gosh, That's so amazing. Oh man, this is super cool tech, man. I am so excited. I thought I could beat you, but you got me beat, man. That's it.
Lindsay,
Hi.
what are you doing here?
Hey, out of the way, cowboys. I want to show our friends something really cool.
Okay.
Okay. Did you know that? Did you?
No.
Okay.
Hi, friends. I got something really cool to show you. Now you see, because all the SQL 2022 excitement, I have to come back, try it out. So now you see this is Azure Data Studio. And since I haven't really used SQL for very long, I wanted to write my code fast. So I was inviting my AI assistant friend, GitHub Copilot, come help me out. So Copilot is based on GPT-3 and with partnership with OpenAI. As you can see, it's actually understand many languages. There's a little icon in the bottom and show it's activated. And every time when it's actually being activated, the calling is be spinning. See, so many languages and can auto-detect as well. I'm going to try to use SQL and write some SQL for me really fast. So first, let me figure out what is, see, I don't even need to type, what's the version of the SQL Server I'm actually using. Hit enter, select. Can you finish it for me, please? There we go. Select add version and go. Now I need to execute this. Run. There, that's the SQL 2022. Okay, I'm connected to the red version of SQL Server. Now let me do something. No, I don't want that again. What are the table names in this little database I'm going to use to query and use the database, car sales, and what are the tables in it? Oh, it's already completed for me, so I can actually ask for some questions. And now let's go for, see how many cars sold, right? How many cars sold in, no, not last 3 months, 2016 and 2017. All right. Oh, that's what the query recommended. I think we can do better. So how about let's use a saggable query. So see if Copilot knows this, right? And Copilot use saggable query to find out the car sold. So what is saggable query? See if Copilot knows. What is saggable query? Knows the words for sure. And so saggable query is a query uses index. See, it knows, use index, I didn't type. Use index to find out the data and answers. So now let's see if it knows how to create saggable query. There. I believe this is saggable query. So let's set the show plan on to see the query plan, see if it's actually use the index. It doesn't know the syntax. Plan on. Let's go back to run it. Now we see it's doing index seek. It's a saggable query. So the AI knows how to write proper SQL statement.
Oh, yeah, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That was awesome to see. So basically, you don't have to write T-SQL anymore? Somebody does it for you?
It does better.
Did you invite Lindsay to our?
You know, man, I don't know what to say.
I mean, what is it going to be called now?
It's going to be called the Bob, Connor, and
Lindsay
show.
Oh, no.
Great to see you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. You know, one of the things you saw what Lindsay was showing, the power of AI and like how that can sort of really benefit. Of course, early stages, but it's important to sort of stay ahead. And that's one of the things we do, within the data team at Microsoft. We're always, watching out for trends. Cloud computing transition was a big one. Now, where the world is going to go with all the advancements that have happened in the language models through GPT-3 and what's going to happen in the future. So it's very exciting. That's the one commitment that you have from us, that your skills and what you've invested in SQL Server is always going to be very valuable. All right. Now, that was a fantastic showcase. We spent a lot of time talking about SQL Server 2022. It's GA today, but please note that all the capabilities and features that we have in SQL Server are already available in Azure SQL. It comes in multiple deployment options. If you really just want to lift and shift your existing SQL Server workloads, you can run them on virtual machines in Azure. If you really want a more deeply managed experience, you can use Azure SQL Managed Instance. You've seen significant growth over there. And if you're an ISV who's looking into modernizing your packaged application from a deployment standpoint into a per-user SaaS-based model, which we see happen a lot, Azure SQL Database with its capabilities like hyperscale, elastic pools, and serverless models essentially make it really, really easy for developers to go do that. And there's always questions around which is the best place to run your SQL Server workloads. And frankly, across virtual machines and PaaS services like Azure SQL Managed Instance, Azure, without a doubt, both from a product capability standpoint and all the value that we've added to our customers from a business model standpoint, given the commitment that they've made, is absolutely the best place to run your SQL Server workloads. We have benchmarks from GigaOM and Principal Technologies that actually show both the power of our virtual machines in terms of price performance, significantly faster and much cheaper, and the same thing with Principal Technologies on our managed instance offering. And just to sort of talk about some of the new innovation that we've landed, I mean, you heard about the link feature with SQL Server 2022, what Bob and Anna showed, where you can sort of have your SQL Server 2022 instance, link it to Azure SQL Managed Instance, and do a failover and fail back. And that's an extremely commoditized way to build out high availability in a very turnkey manner across all your workloads. We've added support for backup portability with SQL Server 2022, and what that allows you is to restore the backup as a part of SQL Managed Instance, and that really eases out if you want to test out your cloud transition before you sort of take that step. It makes that really easy. And there's several other new capabilities that we've added as a part of the last few months in Azure SQL Managed Instance. We're actually so confident. It's interesting, like over the last few years, we've matured our migration tooling, the compatibility levels, that we support, the price performance, that for a lot of your existing SQL Server applications and workloads that don't require a lot of substantial changes, we're going to cover the cost of your migration, right? With the Apps and Migration Factory offer that we are announcing today, basically you just sort of come and show up, and we just feel so confident in the platform that we've built that this is going to be super easy and a very turnkey experience that we're going to cover the entire cost for this one. So please do take advantage of that as you're trying things out. Spoken a lot about SQL, but Cosmos DB is another flagship database. Of course, it's a little over 10 years old, and some of the largest workloads in the world run on Cosmos DB. Of course, the entire we've sort of spoken about what Walmart's sort of done, and there's several other internal properties as well. If you look at Microsoft Teams, our entire resource provider model that we have in Azure, our portal experience, which is upwards of a 2.5 petabyte database that's spread across almost 28 to 30 regions. All of that is built. It's sort of been built from the ground up to support these highly scalable distributed applications. You can start off very small, of course. You don't have to have a very large data set. You can start off small, but scale very linearly. The big challenge a lot of developers have had to face is the choice between maintaining asset compliance, transactional consistency, or get the scale of NoSQL databases. One of the things we've been working on for the last several years is trying to essentially deeply integrate the core Postgres engine with its distributed scale-out processor that we've built on top of Cosmos DB. And that's really the announcement that we made a few weeks ago of supporting PostgreSQL API on top of Cosmos DB. And it's not just an API. It's actually the core database engine with its distributed scale-out processor, a query processor that we support, which we believe is going to be game-changing. And the adoption of this just in the last few weeks has been extremely amazing, right? I mean, we do believe for a certain class of workloads which need global distribution, which want to start off small and maybe even from a single node and then grow linearly as the usage grows. It's a fairly amazing paradigm. We're seeing significant growth, frankly, among our peers in the open source community who sort of are relying pretty heavily on Postgres. So it's a great piece of innovation. We're going to be investing pretty heavily on this, but it's really fantastic to see how quickly the adoption is growing. Azure Synapse Link for SQL. With SQL Server 2022, I mentioned this service is generally available. We have had this capability in preview for multiple months now, and there's been significant amount of feedback that we've received in terms of the, and I'll sort of talk a little bit about the value that we've added. But as of today, Azure SQL DB's Synapse Link capability is generally available, and the Synapse Link capability that we're shipping as a part of SQL Server 2022 is generally available. And the core value of not having to worry about setting up ETL pipelines or worry about the performance impact on your operational database when you move data around, essentially that accrues. And we believe, as you've heard from Javier and team, even on the Mediterranean Shipping Company's video, that it significantly reduces the complexity of the pipelines that you may have today, and just in terms of maintenance and cost, sort of goes away. And as a part of the preview to GA journey, we've received extensive and rich feedback from the community and from our customers. So we have added capabilities like schedule mode, which effectively allows you to control the schedule at which you replicate the data. You can pause and resume connections. So if at some point you basically decided not to sort of replicate the data for a period of time, you can do that. And then there was feedback around having smaller compute capacity available for Synapse Link, and we've made that available as well. And one of the things from a security standpoint, there was a big ask to support virtual networks. So essentially, the entire Link infrastructure can be secured behind a virtual network. We have made that available as a part of taking the capability GA. So again, thank you for the feedback. We are very excited about based on some of the adoption that we've seen with Cosmos DB, with Dataverse, and I think with SQL, it's going to be a game changer. All right. Now let's sort of get into our analytics pillar. We have pretty bet significantly in what we call the lakehouse model. So if you look at any analytics project, there is work that you need to do to set up your data integration pipelines, either batch or through streaming processes, get your data from multiple sources, land them inside the lake, and then have whether it's Spark, whether it's SQL, through Databricks and through Synapse capabilities to actually do your data engineering and reporting queries as an example, or everything that you do from a warehouse standpoint. And one of the reasons why we believe this architecture is very durable is because one key complaint that we hear is just doing multiple copies in proprietary formats, et cetera, is sort of making it extremely cumbersome for our customers to sort of maintain these pipelines. So as a part of the deeper integration work we have done with Synapse as an example, where we bought in Azure Data Factory through Synapse pipelines, Azure Data Explorer as an example as a compute engine for log analytics, we are betting pretty significantly on what we call the lakehouse pattern, where you sort of land the data inside the lake, and then all the compute engines in a very stateless way interact with that data, and so you don't have to maintain multiple copies. And then, of course, once you have the data in the right format, you can either get actionable intelligence, use it through business intelligence platforms like Power BI. You can surface that data as a part of your downstream application workflows, whatever works. And the other big part is, as a part of this design, we've deeply optimized Azure Data Lake Gen 2 storage to actually support very, very high data volumes at scale and at a significantly cheap cost. So that's the pattern. And if you essentially take a look at some of the new innovation that we've added recently, especially for a lot of our SAP customers, we now have a very turnkey way in which they can use the change data capture capability inside Azure Data Factory to get their SAP data. The same thing with mapping data flows for M365 Graph. If you use M365, which a significant number of enterprise customers do, then there's a lot of insight that can be gained from the data. For example, your email communication, the documents, PowerPoints, etc. And we are making it very easy to essentially pull all that data inside the lakehouse to work with our analytics stack with Synapse. So again, super excited about how all of these things are coming together. And one of the largest types of data that is growing in a very fast rate in every enterprise is logs, right? It's any sort of telemetry that comes out of any interaction, whether it's e-commerce, whether it's your own internal applications that are essentially getting used are producing this telemetry data. When we look at our own databases, we see across our data services upwards of 150 petabytes of telemetry data that's produced daily, across trillions of queries that are being produced. And this is really going to be the case. And with Azure Data Explorer, we have the world's best log analytics engine. It's deeply, again, integrated into Synapse. And very recently, we've actually seen GigaOM benchmark the about 19 queries which sort of cover the gamut of what the customer workloads cover. So think of it as a standard benchmark that's getting produced where, ADX just hands down sort of won against its competition, just both from a raw performance and a price performance standpoint. Now, sort of finally getting to our last pillar around data governance. It is one of the top priorities, like I mentioned earlier, for all of the data officers. Again, not just in terms of data management, discovery, and search, but really about understanding and making sure that the data is being used to become a data-driven organization in a compliant manner, in a secure manner. And let's sort of talk about how we are helping them with Microsoft Purview. So Microsoft Purview, one of the things we realized when GDPR sort of came about a few years ago, Microsoft itself had to react to it, right? And one of the big things we realized was we had several different data silos, and there wasn't a very comprehensive data map that actually would help us understand what was in our data estate, like who's using this data, right? Just to give you a sense, we have exabytes of data that we collect across all our live services. You can think Xbox Live, M365, Azure, Dynamics, Power Platform, etc. And having the ability and the insight to know, what aspects of the data are being used, and what are the user rights when you sort of think about customer data, was proving to be extremely hard. So Purview essentially is something that we started building to ensure that Microsoft remains compliant with these privacy policies. And the vision really we had around that was when you look at broader data governance, it includes data management, data sharing, quality of data, master data management, getting insights on data, and privacy ops, right? So when you look at a data officer, just having an understanding of the risk you're carrying at any given point in time is really important. And all of that comes through Purview. The big thing, in fact, like the most critical component that we've invested in is what we call the data map. We are investing heavily in making sure that it is a very comprehensive understanding of your data estate. So no matter what, it's not just about your data in Microsoft or in Azure, but it could be in any cloud in your private data centers. And we've built out capabilities to connect and essentially build out a very holistic data map. Because what we believe is without that, any sort of governance is going to be very partial. It's not really going to solve the complete problem in the enterprise. So for us, the very first step that we've invested very heavily is to build out the base platform, which we call the data map, which gives an extremely comprehensive understanding of your estate. And on top of that, we think about solutions or applications like the data catalog, data insights, quality of data, privacy operations, our capabilities that we're adding. And as I spoke earlier about the partner ecosystem we are building, we are working with several partners who are actually going to build their capabilities on top of the unified data map. We're going to do the work to build out that very comprehensive understanding, and unique value that can be added on top of that data map is going to come as a part of Purview. It's interesting, like I speak to a lot of customers who tell me, like, we have all this data, but we really don't know who's using it, right? Which applications are using it, like how many of our employees are using it. And while data storage is cheap, it's not that cheap either, right? As you're sort of collecting very, very large volumes of data. So that the ability to essentially have that insight around, hey, this data is being used for this purposes, makes it a very critical capability that's sort of built into Purview. That's where we're seeing a significant amount of adoption. And then, Purview, as I said, is the governance platform that's built into the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform. So we've added capabilities. You'll see this with dynamic lineage, where you really want to understand how your SQL data changed all the way, for example, till it reaches Power BI. You can do that. Like, we have deeply integrated a lot of the capabilities of Purview, within SQL, the core SQL engine, to be able to track this in near real time. And for all of you who sort of looked at, why is this data incorrect? Where did it originate? What changes were made? Who made those changes? All that information is going to be available for you. All right. Now let's see. I've spoken a lot about the 3 pillars of the Intelligent Data Platform. Now let's actually see how all these capabilities work together in an end-to-end demo. And for that, I'd like to invite Chuck, Evangeline, and Patrick to come on stage and show how the various pillars of the Intelligent Data Platform come together to build out an end-to-end experience.
Thank you. All right. All right, so I'm Evangeline, and I'm a new analyst with our new local soccer league, the Seattle Select Statements, and our players have been struggling a little bit with performance during their games, so I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. So what I'm going to do in my Synapse environment here is actually go to data, and I'm going to search using Purview. This is going to help me search across my organization. So regardless of where my data is, I can search anything. And I'm just going to search for some player statistics here. All right, let's see what comes up. Oh, OK, so there's some player health events. This kind of looks like what I need. And there's a really good description here. It's certified. Oh, and it looks like I'm required to complete privacy training before using any PI at my organization. That's OK, because I'm always up to date on my privacy training. Oh, but it's in SQL. It's not in Synapse. OK. I just know I'm going to get the runaround, but I'm going to talk to my DBA and see if he'll write me an ETL script. Maybe if I bring him his favorite coffee, he'll do me a favor. Hopefully this doesn't take weeks and weeks and weeks to do. Hey, Chuck.
Hi, Evangeline. I've already got the coffee.
Oh,
now
great.
I can do one better than an ETL statement here. With Azure Synapse Link for SQL that we announced GA today, I can move this data from on-prem SQL servers and Azure SQL databases into Synapse without writing a line of ETL code.
Wait, no ETL code?
No ETL code.
OK.
And with ETL, you're limited to batch, right?
Yeah, it sucks.
I can do this in near real time.
Near real time?
Near real time.
All right, let's see.
So what I have set up here is I have a link connection for my Azure SQL database. I also have a link connection for my on-premises SQL Server 2022 instance.
Okay.
And when you set these up, all that you need to tell Synapse is what tables you want to replicate, how you want them structured in the dedicated SQL pool, and then how much compute power you want to use to process the data coming through.
All the compute power.
Well, I can't give you all my compute.
OK, all right.
But
I'll take what I can get.
You use what you need. That's the beautiful thing here. You use what you need.
All right.
Not more, not less. So one of the things here is I have this set up separately for my different sources. Our data that's in Azure doesn't change all that often. So I have it running in scheduled mode where it updates every 60 minutes.
OK.
Now, the data that's running on-prem is my game data. That's the telemetry that's coming in for the game that's in progress. That's set up to run in near real time.
Oh, awesome.
So this is moving, as it's happening, we're moving the data up into Azure Synapse into the dedicated SQL pools. And I've got a query here, and as I refresh this query, you can see that there's game data coming through.
Chuck, this is amazing.
Watch this. We can even visualize this in Power BI. So I've got this report here in Power BI that is going against that dedicated SQL pool. Hey, Patrick, what do you think?
That's an ugly report, Chuck.
Yeah, it's not great.
Well, I'm a DBA, not a miracle worker.
You are not a report designer, my friend. But I know people.
I know you know people.
I know people, Chuck. I know people. So when you send me this ugly baby, when you send this to me, I sent this to my people. Okay. Right? And let me show you what my people did. Let me go over here to Power BI. Because we've been talking about SQL Server way too much. We got to talk about Power BI a little bit. Look at that. What's that? That's so much better than the atrocity that you created.
He tried.
I don't think there was no effort there. There was no effort. There was no effort.
There's a problem with this report.
No, hold on, Chuck. I designed this. I created this. There's never a problem with anything. Do you know who I am, Chuck?
I know you Power BI cat people.
I'm kind of a big deal, Chuck. I'm kind of a big deal.
I know that you take pride in what you do.
Yeah.
But look at the visiting team name.
So this is an opportunity.
It's not a bug. It's
an opportunity. Okay. No, it's an opportunity. We've been showing lots and lots of stuff about SQL Server, so I know people.
Yes.
So I call somebody up and I said, we got to show these SQL people that we have great stuff in Power BI. Do you have Power BI Desktop installed on your MacBook?
I'm running a Mac. I'm
sorry. But all I brought was my iPad. So let's head over to my iPad,
okay.
Chuck. We're going to head over to my iPad. Right now today, what I'm showing you is in a web browser. Doesn't matter which device I have. I'm using an iPad. I'm going to edit my data model. I'm going to resolve the opportunity, Chuck. And what I'm going to do, let me show you. So I'm going to write a little DAX because I'm really good. Change that to visiting team. Watch this. I'm going to commit it back to my data model. I'm in a web browser. Editing my data set. And watch that. Select.
Seattle select statements.
Seattle scores. Oh, Rohan scored. What do you think about that, Chuck?
That's really impressive. So what we got here is we can search for our data in Purview.
Yep.
We find the data. We realize it's not in Synapse. We use Synapse Link for SQL to bring it into Synapse. And then we're using Power BI to connect to that data. And when we found a problem, we could edit that right in the web browser without having to use Power BI Desktop.
That's right. It's what I like to call fabtastic, Chuck.
That is pretty darn amazing.
All right. I like it.
All right.
All right.
Back to Rohan.
Back to Rohan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
That is awesome, man. Thank you. Well, hopefully you got a chance to see how the end-to-end of the Microsoft Intelligent Data Platform comes together. With that, before we adjourn, I sort of want to come back to today's theme, which is about coming together. And this is not just about your operational databases, analytics, and BI systems. While that's amazing in itself, it's the community that you've helped build and how we've come together that's even more special. And we need to continue to come together, as human beings to support each other. There's a huge amount of transition that's happening in our industry. How do we support, learn from each other, grow our careers? And on that note, let's wrap up with this video that illustrates the true resilience of this community. Please roll the video.
As many of you know, Hugo Cornelis, a passionate data platform MVP, lover of all things SQL Server, active member of the data community, and all-around wonderful guy, was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia, or AML, in September of this year. The weeks since have been filled with bone marrow punctures, transfusions, chemotherapy, and hospital stays, all while continuing to share his knowledge of SQL Server with the community. If you needed to know about execution plans or performance, odds are good you've benefited from his work. Hugo was supposed to speak at several conferences this fall, including here in Seattle at PASS Summit. And while he won't be here in person, we want him to know that he's with us in spirit. Stuart Scott, an American sports broadcaster, gave some wonderful advice during his fight with cancer. Stuart said, "You beat cancer by how you live, why you live, and the manner in which you live. So live, fight like hell, and when you're too tired to fight, rest and let someone else fight for you." So today is the day that we fight for Hugo. Aaron Stellato and Ben Weissman wanted to show Hugo how much he is loved and how hard we'll fight for him. They've created a way for you to honor Hugo and his fight. Today, you'll see members of the data community sharing their support on social media with the hashtag Team Hugo. And as you look around the conference, you'll see people wearing their Team Hugo t-shirts. The cost of every shirt included a donation to a charity chosen by Hugo, the Leukemia Research Foundation. Do you want to do even more? You can donate directly to the charity at leukemiarf.org or participate in Hugo's annual Black Friday charity sale at SQLServerFast.com. You can also register to be a bone marrow donor. To find an organization in your country that can help, or any of the links that I've mentioned today, navigate to aka.ms/teamhugo.
You know, today, we're all Team Hugo. You know, our ability to come together is what makes me so proud. And you know, after 3 years, we've sort of all come together in person, and that has made this event really, really special. You know, hopefully you're excited about SQL Server 2022's GA as much as all of us are. It's been an amazing amount of hard work. What a fantastic collaboration with the community. And please know that we are so invested in making sure that all your investments that you've made in SQL is going to continue to last forever. With all the technology changes that are going to come in, we're going to make sure that this product lives on forever. And there's no perfect venue. There's no better way as we are sort of thinking about what a fantastic community to be a part of as we launched the general availability. So thank you so much. I hope you have a fantastic PaaS Summit. You learn a lot, make the connections again, and see you again next year.